Hey everyone, Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd. This is a review of the new Oranssi Pazuzu album. These guys are a Finnish rock band. This is their third full-length LP. I heard of them back in 2010 thanks to their debut album, which actually dropped in 2009, but I was actually kind of late on it. But when I actually got around to listening to the album, I was pretty excited by the band's mix of black metal and other genres of rock music, because the music on this album is actually quite spacey. To me, their work on this LP is admirably adventurous. However, their next album really just kind of breezed by me, honestly. There can be moments when this band's riffs, their drumming, just basically their songs in general, can come off a little static, still, a little underwhelming. On top of that, it's not like there aren't other artists out there doing adventurous things with black metal music, at least sonically. However, in a way, I will say that I feel that Oranssi sits at least on a throne of their own, because their approach to this style of music at times just feels outright trippy. And certainly that vibe bleeds through on this new record as well, for the 6 tracks and 47 minutes that it lasts. Some of the songs on here are the band's longest material yet, 11-minute track on here, 15-minute track on here. But the 4 average-sized songs that surround these two monsters for this band are pretty straightforward, like the opener, Vino Verso, where the band delivers this pretty nice mid-pace guitar riff, got a good groove to it. But this really only is a foundation on top of which the band lays some very twisted, bright synthesizers, some guitar chords here and there that are so distorted and brittle that they sear like the sun, and synth lines that are constantly skipping in the background as well. However, most of the experimental characteristics of this song are really buried in the mix behind the guitars, really thrown in the background, placed on the back burner. While it's not a horrible track and the riff does make for an ear-catching opener, why add adventurous or experimental elements if they're not going to enhance the experience of the song? The 4th track on here follows a similarly repetitive formula, but instead of a booming guitar riff, we have a very slow, spacious bass line. And this bass line is a part of what is essentially a very eerie, brooding, and kind of psychedelic instrumental. I would actually call it chilling if it weren't for the sort of wobbly synthesizers playing through at the end of the track, making it kind of feel like a corny Halloween tape soundtrack. Not every synthesizer part on this track is a bust though. For the most part, this is a pretty interesting transitional moment on the album. I think my favorites of the mid-sized tracks on this LP definitely have to be the 2nd track and the 5th track, especially the 5th track. These songs are multifaceted, and they stay pretty engaging from beginning to end. This 5th song has a pretty nice guitar riff that kicks things off, some wretched vocals placed on top of this, of course. And then the song gives way to some wailing guitars on top of blast beats, a very intense combination, and then it just settles down into a rock groove that is no less chilling, and sort of reminds me of something from the 28 Days Later soundtrack. This is the kind of roller coaster-esque songwriting that I think made the band's first LP so great, and I wish they engaged with a little more on here. As far as the longer cuts on this LP go, there is Oranssi, which starts off with a booming riff that I think would be a fantastic start for just about any metal track. But then the song begins to drag as it becomes apparent that these awesome crushing riffs have only become a music bed for some decent vocals and guitar soloing that is only interesting about half the time. The best parts of this track really are the beginning, and I think the last 4 or 5 minutes of this song, where all of a sudden we have a huge explosion of guitars, and the band suddenly kicks into this odd-timed riff, and even though it is incredibly off-kilter, they play it in this really visceral way where the groove is just so primal and fluid and free. And as far as the monstrous closer on this LP goes, not a bad track either. It's got a very quiet and eerie guitar-led intro that reminds me of a little little bit of Godspeed. And then there's an explosive riff that brings the song to another plateau of intensity. And even though on this track, like many other songs here, the playing, the performance, it's not fantastically intense or mind-blowing, I do like the fact that this song progresses in a much more interesting way than other songs on here. The band is always looking for another level of volume or another layer to add onto the mix to sort of keep things engaging. There are times when synthesizers add that, and there's a moment toward the very end of this track where there is a very thick string section that is paired really well with the thunderous guitars that are clashing away behind it. It's just odd to me that a band would arrange such a great piece of instrumentation around their track, and then just a little bit earlier in the song, like around the 9:30 mark, we have some guitar intervals that don't feel all that well mixed into the song and are simply going whew, whew, plugging away in the background, not really adding that much to the song. It's just like there are moments where the band is adding another spice or another ingredient, another element to the mix just to have something else there, or just to have an ornamental little bit of sound there to separate their tracks from what would normally be just a straightforward black metal song. Even though there are cons to this album, for me, there are quite a bit of pros. It's recorded well, the grooves are really nice, they get my head bobbing, the mix is great, there's a variety among the tracks, the album for sure flows well, and for sure Oranssi sits at an interesting crossroads of different genres, but there are moments here where some of the guitar riffs or the soloing, the sound play feels a little average, and that goes for black metal, psychedelic rock, whatever genre you feel like really sticks out at you when it comes to this record. I'm feeling a strong 6 to a light 7 on this thing. Musician, but if you've given this LP a listen, what did you think of it? Did you love it? Hate it? Why? What do you think I should review next? And that's it. Anthony Fantano, Oranssi Pazuzu, metal forever.